Hi guys, I am currently reading Nervous System, but I realized that I never talked about Brickmakers, and I should do that before I have other books in my brain since I haven't been. This is the last book that I finished, and I finished in January. Just in general, because I haven't been reading, but I don't want to forget anything. So this is by Selva Almada, translated by Annie McDermott, and it's a Grey Wolf Press book. And oh my gosh, I loved it so much. So general plot, well, I guess I should say, like, at the beginning of the book, there's basically two they're not young boys, they're young men. I don't actually know what their ages are. I'm gonna assume like early 20s or late teens. And they are both dying because they have basically had, like, I don't know how they kill each other. Like, if it's I forget if it's a gunfight or a knife fight. This is what I'm saying, is I already forget things. I think it's a knife fight probably. But so they're dying, and then as they're dying, they kind of, the book goes back and tells us how they got to this point. Oh, and I did want to mention that this is also published by Charco Press, but that's the UK publisher, so Grey Wolf has published it here in the United States. But anyways, so yeah, you go back in time and kind of see, and so it goes back and forth, which is like my favorite type of story. First of all, I don't love books that are just like from the beginning to the end in general, but I really love books that start at like the end point basically, and then go back and tell us how they got to that point, which is what this book does. It goes back and forth between the different characters, and we're mostly following the two young men who are, what are their names? Pájaro and Angelito? No, because what is the name? Angelito's older brother. I forget. Yeah, so Pájaro is one of the boys, or one of the guys, and then Angelito's brother is the other one, but it doesn't say his name on the back here, and I am whatever. So it goes back and forth between the two, like, young men that are dying, their kind of story a little bit, and then also mostly is going back and telling the story of their two fathers, who are brickmakers. And oh my gosh, there's a lot of stuff that happens in this book. It is really, like, heartbreaking. The two, like, main, like, the patriarchs of the two families. It's basically like, I don't want to say a Romeo and Juliet story, but it's basically like two warring families, and, you know, their interactions with each other, and like the poor wives, and like how they have to kind of deal with it, because like the two guys that like kill each other at the very beginning, they were really, really good friends when they were little kids, but their dads hated each other, and so they like kind of conspired. Well, clearly I've gotten to the point where I need to go through my phone and delete a lot of things because I just don't have any space on my phone. So anyways, yeah, I think I was talking about how the two guys were like friends when they were little, and then blah blah blah, whatever. So yeah, I think it is beautifully told. It is super well written, and I'm gonna assume well translated. I really like this. I gave this 4.5 stars. I am very interested. I actually do think, didn't she write Dead Girls too? Yeah, so I just read Dead Girls at some point last year, but it was kind of when I stopped filming wrap-ups, so I didn't talk about it, but Dead Girls was amazing as well. So I'm very interested in this author and everything that she's gonna do, and this translated to be perfectly honest. So I don't really know what else to say. You know, read it. Hey guys, I'm going to try to film my remaining reviews for Booktube Prize. I forget what round, or what, I know what rounds it is, but I forget like what group I am. It might be C. It'll be in the title. You'll know before I do right now. Anyways, so I already talked about Brickmakers. I'm really disappointed because I did want to kind of be talking about each book as I was going, because the brain is not that great and I'm reading these books fairly quickly, so it would be nice, but that's okay. So I'm gonna go through them in order of me finishing them, and then I will rank them. Actually, I guess I'll rank them later when I get home from work, because I don't have one of the books on me. It's on my other shelf. Anyways, so the next book that I finished was Nervous System by Lina Mirwane, translated by Megan McDowell. And this book was really, really interesting. I was so confused at first because the style of writing is very different from what I'm used to. I don't know. It took me a while to get into the book, to be perfectly frank. It was very kind of like experimental-y feeling and very just not particularly straightforward. So I did have to work hard. About halfway through the first part, I want to say I kind of like figured out what was going on. But this book is told in 4 parts, and each part follows a different person's kind of like ailment, I guess, if that makes any sense. So Ella, and also it's really funny because I was calling her Ella, and then later we meet El, and I was like, okay, so it's Ella and El, and then everyone else is referred to like the father, the mother, the lady, like everyone's referred to. My cat is opening my curtains. This sun is coming in. Girl's crazy. So yeah, I actually ended up really liking it, but at first I was like, I'm not gonna like this very much. So it did end up working out. All of the people are interconnected, obviously. So we start off with Aya, and then we go into her kind of like neurological kind of problems that she ends up having. And it's also really interesting because, she's like a student and she's, using her father's money. But she's not doing what she needs to do. She needs to like write a thesis or something for her doctorate. And she's having some like brain blockage, when you're like anxious and you can't finish the thing that you need to finish. So anyways, that was really interesting. And then her, I forget what the other ailments are specifically, but I know, I think it's her, and then her boyfriend, and then her mom, who's really her stepmom, and then her dad. But yeah, it was really interesting. It's definitely different. I can't really say much more about it other than it did take a little bit of work. I think I gave this 3.5 stars maybe. And I did like it, but it was very weird. So interesting. Then I finished Winter in Soksho by Elisa Schwa Dusapin, and this is translated by Anissa Abbas Higgins, and this was really interesting. Oh, I loved this one. So this, we're following a young woman whose name I don't remember. Do we even know her name? It's not in the dust jacket. But anyways, we're following a woman who's living in Korea, and she is French Korean. I don't think that she knows who her dad is. Like I think her dad, I don't know. There's no mention really of who her dad is other than her dad is a Frenchman. But she works in this like a motel, bed and breakfast kind of situation. And then a mysterious Frenchman shows up, and they have this like, they don't have a real relationship, but it's kind of one of those things where you see someone from afar, they are interesting and intriguing to you, and I'm going to assume that part of that intrigue is the fact that he is a Frenchman, which is, something that she probably isn't experiencing a lot of in Korea. And, the relationship with her mother is really interesting, and the relationship with her boss is really interesting, and like how she kind of develops this like weird fascination with this guy, and how their paths are kind of like intertwined for this like brief period of time. There's a lot of feelings of longing when reading this book, and like kind of just like having something like just out of grasp and not being able to quite reach it, which is a feeling that I love having. So I really like that. I feel like I look really weird. Hold on one second. I don't know. I put on lipstick earlier and I took it off. So I feel like I just put lip gloss on. That's why my lips look really shiny, but I feel like my lips looked really orange. So anyways, I just turned the ring light off, and so hopefully I couldn't look at myself. It looked too weird. So the next book that I finished was The Art of Losing. I feel like I'm so close to the camera now though. I can't back up anymore. The next book that I finished was The Art of Losing by Alice Zeniter, and this is translated by Frank Wynn. And this book was so good. The whole thing was worth it for me to have read this book because I would have never even heard of it. This was absolutely incredible. So this is following a French Algerian family. And I love like even the way that it's told. So we start off with Naima, who is going back to Algeria. And I say back to, she's not from Algeria, she's from France, but her family is from Algeria. So we start off, like, the prologue is her, you know, making, like, starting this journey or something like that. And then we go and we start with her grandfather's tale. And it's so, so, so good. It's really, I love reading about, like, perspectives in books that where, like, things are very complicated, okay? Things are very complex, very complicated. Obviously, the French, you know, needed to get the F out of Algeria, but it is really interesting because, like, this, I forget what his name is. I think it's Ali. He, like, wanted to protect his family. Like, that was, like, the main thing that he cared about, was protecting his family. So there's, like, decisions that he made that, you know, obviously impacted his whole family line because they had to move to France. And this whole, it just was so, so fascinating. I will say it was incredibly infuriating because at the beginning of the book, you know, it's like Ali and talking about, like, you know, how he's married and blah, blah, whatever. And then eventually he's able to have a son finally. I think it's his third wife, maybe, that he finally is able to have a son. And then the son meets, there's this gentleman that, like, has a little shop. His name is Claude. And then his daughter, I think her name is Alice. Alice and, oh my gosh, well, I don't remember what her father's name is. It starts with an H. Boop-a-doop. Hamid. Hamid. He, like, you know, so the little boy and the little girl are hanging out, and obviously one of them is French and one of them is Algerian. And so they're talking, the little girl who is French but living in Algeria, she's talking about, I mean, I guess Alice Zeniter is talking about how she learns how, you know, the Mediterranean basically, like, separates France, like the sun separates Paris, and all this, like, horrible propaganda for colonization, and how, like, Algeria belongs to France. It was, like, obviously upsetting, but it was, the whole book in general was really interesting. Our narrator was an outside narrator, and there was a lot of breaking of the fourth wall in this book. So the narrator would, like, address us a little bit, but not, like, too much, just the right amount. And there's a hilarious part at the very end when Naima, I'm pretty sure it's Naima, is at, like, an art show or something, and people, or okay, my phone ran out of space. I took everything off my mouth because I was, like, not into it. Anyways, I forget 100% where I was, but there's a scene where she's talking to a bunch of people, and they're talking about autofiction and how, like, you know, it's narcissistic and all of this stuff, which just, like, filled my heart with so much joy because this is kind of like autofiction, at least I'm pretty sure. And yeah, that, like, it filled me with so much joy. I love things that are meta. I love things that are like breaking of the fourth wall, like, kind of, like, showing behind the curtain a little bit. I love it so much. So anyways, yeah, so in addition to this being an incredible, like, multi-generational tale of French Algerians, or, like, Algerians that, you know, have to emigrate to France because their lives are in danger, and, like, how just, like, multiple different perspectives about the situation. Like, you're seeing characters, or you're seeing people. So first, you know, the grandfather, he fought in World War II for France, or with France. And so even within those, like, within the war veterans, there's, like, a division between the veterans that fought in World War I versus World War II. And then we get to the point where, you know, there's a difference between the you know, the people that are trying to, like, violently, like, expel French people from Algeria versus the people that are trying to, I feel like most Algerian, well, I don't know, I'm not going to say whatever. The point is that he, you know, our main character, at least, he was trying to protect his family above all else. And so he needed to do what he needed to do. Hey, I am editing this video, like, and by editing, I mean just watching to make sure it makes sense. I need to cut my hair because I hate that it's always up, but it's too long. Anyways, I feel like the way that I'm speaking, it makes it sound like he was, like, some collaborator with the French, which is not accurate. He just wasn't, like, super pro the FLN, which is, like, the group of people that are trying to, like, get rid of the French. He's a more neutral, but because he does have a relationship with the French, because that he fought with them in the war, I feel like there's a perspective of him that may or may not be true, but like once you're branded something by someone else, it's kind of hard to shed that label. So a lot of yeah, it's again, whatever. I I do feel like maybe the way that I'm speaking is misrepresenting his actions in the book. So basically the point is that you should read the book, and it's really, really good. And, you know, and then you see kind of like the ripple effects of all of those decisions. And then you see, you know, his son and, you know, how he grew up and the different like brothers and sisters that he had. And like he, you know, because a lot of his childhood was spent like in these areas that, I don't know if, I guess it would be called a refugee camp, maybe, but like, you know, they're put in these like really terrible conditions, like once they get to France. And so like, that's his childhood, like his formative like bits are spent in this like horrible area. And so it makes him really not want to talk about his childhood. So when he finally falls in love with a woman, like she wants to get to know him. And like, it's just, it's so good. So I would really, really, really recommend this. Again, an amazing story, well-told story, and just, I need to read everything that Alice has ever written, basically. So good. The next thing that I read was Catch the Rabbit by Alana Bastasic. I think it's Bastasic. I heard it 3 or 4 days ago and I have forgotten. This was also very weird. I would say this one and Nervous System were like probably the weirdest books that were of the bunch. And yeah, so I feel like my understanding of this book is not as high as it would otherwise be. Like, basically, I don't know enough about this region in order for this to have like the emotional weight that I think it actually does indeed have. Our main character's name, I don't remember. Why am I so bad at people's names, y'all? Sarah. So Sarah and Lejla, they're best friends when they're young. Sarah is our main character. So she gets a phone call. It's been like many, many years since she's even heard of this woman or girl, I guess. And she basically is like, you know, Armand has been found in Vienna, or Armand is in Vienna. And like, I'm actually going to start crying thinking about it. Never mind. This is actually really emotionally impactful. This book, so basically, you know, there's the Bosnian War. I'm pretty sure this takes place around then, but, you know, Sarah is not Muslim. I don't know what her religion is, but Lejla and her family are Muslim. And so, like, there's this, you know, whole situation where I think I really don't know enough about the war and about the region. I gave this book 3.5 stars. I think I gave it 3 on Goodreads. I'm going to bump it up to 4, clearly based on like the reaction that I'm having right now trying to talk about it. So they get back together, and Sarah's goal is basically to drive Lejla from, I think they're in Bosnia, post-war Bosnia, to Vienna to find her brother. And so every single chapter starts off with present day. So there's a present day section and then a past day section. And present day is obviously chronological, but the stuff that happens in the past, it's all just like various kind of stories. I will say that like their friendship is not a good friendship. So there's a lot of like cattiness and like weirdness, and it's kind of funny because our main character, she acts like she's like this great kind of person, but she is clearly a little bit cuckoo, and she projects a lot onto Lejla. Like it kind of reminded me a little bit of the relationship of Elena and Lila in My Brilliant Friend, except like way more crazy pants, where like you have this friend that you think is like this perfect magical person, and like you feel like you need to kind of like be as good as or whatever, and like you're projecting like so much onto the person, and you feel lesser than constantly. So there are a lot of like bad feelings, and I feel like those are they're heavier towards the beginning, just because as you learn more about the two girls and like about their history and about, you know, like Layla's family. I'm just going to call her Layla because I feel like I'm not saying Lejla right. But as you learn more specifically about the friend's family and like what they've gone through, it's just like heartbreaking. But these two girls are both so annoying and like so terrible. So it's a conflicted moment. I would also recommend this a lot if you can like move past that. I do think that the book has a lot to offer. I would love to revisit this book after learning more about the Bosnian War and just like that area in general. Because I just don't, I really don't know anything about it. I think I have a graphic novel that Joe Sacco did about that. I think, actually maybe it's not about that. I don't know. We'll see. I need to read more. So yeah, I really liked that. I don't really have much else to say other than it was good, but both of these girls were very annoying to me. Because I like to, you know, do what you're supposed to do and like not get in trouble. So, and then the last book that I read was The Slaughterman'S Daughter by Yaniv Ixkovitz. And this is translated by Or Sharf. I think I'm gonna run out of space. I'm just gonna stop this and then restart it. Hold on. Hey guys. So I was watching my video and I watched the 13 minutes that I spent speaking about The Slaughterman's Daughter, and I realized that I was being a bit condescending maybe, and judgmental might not be the right word, but I was being not really very nice. And there's no reason to be mean just because I don't like something. It's a personal preference. So I'm gonna do this over again. Sorry, I'm trying to move this so that this is like fully in the frame. So yeah, I did not like this book at all. I gave it 1.5 stars. I would have DNF'd it if I wasn't forced to read this for the Booktube prize. I did listen to like at least 70% of this on audio. I was going back and forth. Oh my gosh, my cat is being so cute right now. Baby. Oh, she's so cute. So yes, my problems with this book are the writing and the plot, which are two pretty important parts of a book. I forgot to like go on Goodreads to see if like anyone, I'm sure there's many people that have enjoyed this book. I'm just not one of them. Yeah, this person doesn't really deserve the attitude that I had in my last video, because there's nothing like particularly wrong or rude or, you know, bad about this book. It's just, it's a YA novel. It has a lot of like YA tropes in it. And I find it frustrating because I don't like to read those kinds of books. And so I don't want to. So plot wise, I am gonna like spoil the entire plot of this book because again, like my main issue is the plot, and it is the way that he writes his characters and like the way he writes prose in general. I mean, and it could be a translation issue. I have literally no idea. I don't know how to speak or write or read in Hebrew. So I will never know if it is a translation issue or if that's the way the book was written originally, but it does, yeah, anyways, let's start with the plot, I guess. So we're following Fanny, whose last name I don't remember, but she is Jewish, and this takes place in the like 1800s in Russia. And so Fanny and Menda are sisters, and Menda's husband has left her to go to Kiev. And so I guess this is like fairly common or whatever for like men to just like leave their women, which is weird, but that's okay. But Menda is like really upset, and she does like some kooky things towards the beginning, and she ends up kind of like bedridden because of a decision that she makes. So Fanny is upset because she loves her sister, and so she wants to go find this husband and basically force him to divorce her sister so that her sister can like have peace or whatever. So Fanny decides in the 1800s in Russia, and she's Jewish, okay, to leave her family, which consists of her husband and her 5 children who are small children. They're not adults, okay? She leaves her small children to run across the country to go find this person's husband. And she doesn't tell anyone. She just leaves a note that's like, you know, blah, whatever. But she doesn't say what she's doing. She doesn't tell anyone what she's doing. Like, there's just better ways to go about this. Like, you know, have your husband go do it. Like, there's just other things that could have happened that would have prevented the plot of this book from happening, which I guess would make it so that there's no book. But I just don't think that the plot makes sense. I don't know what woman in her right mind would leave her children knowing that she's probably going to be shunned by her family because she just like left them. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So that's like my first main problem, is that I think that the whole reason for this book exists, like the whole crux or beginning of the plot, just doesn't make any sense. And yes, I'm being much nicer than I was the first time, in case you're wondering. So I don't like that. And then, you know, as the book progresses, she comes across various people. So first there's a guy that's from her town that helps her like cross the river. And then he decides that he's going to stay with her to kind of like look over her, protect her. Why? You don't know her. Why? And now there's two people from that town that's gone missing, a woman and a man. So like that kind of makes it worse. Okay. Because now everyone's going to think that y'all ran off together, but that's okay. And then, you know, stuff happens and then they get attacked by a group of people. And what does Fanny do? She murders them. So she murders 3 of the people. This is like a well-adjusted, normal human being who murders 3 people. Of course, they were attacking them and they were going to kill them. And of course, Jake is almost home, which means that I'm probably going to stop filming in a second and then pick this up in a little bit. But yeah, she murders them. And I just like don't understand. Like the first one, sure. The second one, maybe. But the third one, like, now you're just a murderer, okay? Because the first one's attacking you and the second one sees what you've done and they come after you, and then the third one is running away. So like, let them run away because they attacked you. It's all self-defense. But instead, I'll be back. Okay, sorry. I forgot where I was. So, oh right, that she killed these people, and she killed them. She used to be, when she was really young, her mom died, and that caused her a lot of distress. And so because of that, she decided that she wanted to start, you know, butchering meat with her father, like in the kosher kind of way. And so everyone like was really like excited and impressed that there was this like 7-year-old or whatever that was, you know, killing the meat. And so I guess there's a very specific like kosher way of doing that, or killing the animals, I guess I should say, which is like to cut just the trachea and the esophagus, and that's it, and leave everything else intact. I'm not 100%. I apologize. I'm not Jewish, so I don't actually know, but that's like how she is killing these people. So because of that, there's this cop guy who you know, finds the bodies. The bodies are reported, and then they know that it's a Jewish person that's done the murder because of that. And obviously this is a time when there's, I mean, and still today, there's a lot of like anti-Jew stuff. But in this time, there's like a lot of it. So there's definitely like a differentiation between if you're Jewish or if you're not Jewish. And, you know, the Russians that are not Jewish are like, they really, really don't, they like are. So, so that kind of like feeds into this whole like perception and idea that this cop, his name is Novak, has about Jews or something. I don't know. He's pretty anti-Jew, but then he like meets they like kind of find out who the people are a little bit, and he finds her and he's like holding her down. And there's this whole like, the whole like YA trope of this like very special female that like everyone is kind of like obsessed with and is like trying to like, they like can't help themselves from like feeling like these urges for her, and like they can't help themselves from like doing things for her. And it's just like, it's just not realistic because people only care about themselves. So I find it highly, highly unrealistic for a person. One of the people that she like, you know, absorbs into her little like band of whatever is a guy who hates Jewish people, okay? He hates them. He was Jewish, and then he got like conscripted. Like there's a period of time where they were just like snatching children from homes to put them into the Russian army. And like they had to basically like, I don't know what it's called when you renounce your faith and, you know, take like, I guess, a Christian name. I have no idea what the religion the other people are in this book. So he does that, and then he is basically like super anti-Jew at that point, or like starting from that point. And so they go and they stay with him in his like hotel when they're trying to evade the cops and trying to like find out what to do. And then the cops show up, and he protects them. He protects this woman and, you know, his friend from the person that's like kind of with her. And he goes off with them, and it's all because this woman wants to get a divorce for her sister. Like he puts his life in danger. He leaves his livelihood. He leaves all of this stuff for basically like the stupidest reason to do this treacherous, like dangerous journey involving murdering people. Oh, and she murders 2 cops, just in case you're wondering. So now she's murdered 5 people, and they just like keep going. And again, it's just something about the writing is just like very like not good to me. And I don't like it. And then, you know, the plot keeps going, and we get to this point where everyone finds out that this man that's like been helping her is the father, who's like some guy that helped save like, you know, hundreds, if not thousands of Russian soldiers' lives by basically manipulating their captain, which was actually like the only part of the book where I was like really invested and like worried about his safety, because I was like, what if the captain like catches on to him? Like that was the only part of the book that I was like really like nervous and excited to read. And so we get to this point, and then there's a lot of like, I just didn't like it. And, you know, eventually they're captured. So it ends up being Fanny and like four men that have like kind of helped her to get to this point. And they're captured by this Novak gentleman who is the police person. And then he finds out that Zizek, who's the name of the guy that's been helping her, the gentleman that's been helping her. I don't know why I used the word gentleman earlier. Sorry, it was kind of weird. So he finds out that he is the father. He literally, the text says something like, of course, how could he not realize? And it's just like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? How could you not realize? It's just a lot of that, like, oh God, like, you know, you know, it's just like, I feel like if you like the Hunger Games and Divergent and like that kind of crap, you're gonna like this book probably. And then his commander, so Novak's officer, or like the person that's above him, is like, you need to kill these people, and then you need to kill these soldiers over here. So it does that thing that I hate happens, where we've got our main woman that we as the audience want to survive. I put that in quotes because whatever. And then her 4 friends that have helped her, and like there is a hierarchy within them of which you think is more important that lives. So there's one that like no one really cares if he dies, another one like if he dies, whatever. There is a hierarchy of like how invested you are in these people. And then there's these 7 soldiers that have helped them move around, because again, everyone wants to protect the father. And so this super top high official that wants this woman killed, and like the people that helped her killed, says to shoot the officers first. So they shoot the officers first, which makes no ding dong sense. And then he leaves, and he's like, Novak, make sure these people are hung in the gallows. And it's like, if you, first of all, there's way more to the plot that I'm not saying. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that this author has put into this book. But if you believe that this person is such a threat, and that there's like this conspiracy and like all this stuff is happening, why would you leave before they're actually killed? Does that make any sense? Does it make any sense to you? No, it doesn't make any sense to me. And then they start hanging them one by one. And obviously they start with the least important person, which is the cantor, or Cantor, whatever his name is. And so they start with the least important person. And then there's like comments about how like, oh, you know, he, there's a person that just walked past. Oh, so awkward. How like he's too thin, so the neck doesn't snap. And then he's just like being slowly choked and blah, blah, blah. And then the next guy's too big, so his feet fall on the ground. And then like right before they're about to hang Fanny, there's like smoke off in the distance. And then there's a statement where it's literally like, although the 5 suspects were executed, none of them died. it's just, I just think it's too cheesy, and like the author has tried so hard to get us to care about these people that I don't actually care about. And then he like tries so hard to save their lives. And so obviously all 5 of them survive, and all 5 of them are living like a happy life at the end. And Novak, the officer who was like so invested, like he was obsessed with capturing these people the whole book. He writes to his officer and is like, oh yeah, I killed them all to like protect them basically. And I just think it's just stupid. Like I think I don't like it. And then the worst part to me is at the very end, Fanny like gives her knife to her daughter. So, and now they all live together happily ever after. And then at the very end, Fanny's like got this knife and she's like, oh, this knife, like I can't keep blah, blah, blah. And then she hands it off to her daughter. And so now she's like passing on the daughter, you know, I'm trying to, and then of course, Novak, who's the cop, tells the other guy like that he killed the people. And it's just like, I just don't understand. I'm trying to find the scene where she gives the knife. Ugh. Fanny's gaze follows him, her hand still holding the knife tightly. She can neither throw it away nor strap it back on her thigh. She glances down at Gabriella, who looks back pleadingly, and she hands over to her eldest the inheritance she has received from her father. Gabriella's eyes glisten with pride, and Fanny smiles back, suppressing tears. It's just like, I'm not into it, if you couldn't tell. It just is not for me, and I do feel really bad. I have been much nicer this round than I was the last time, because I don't like to, you know, it's not like I'm reading a book by Stephen King or Elizabeth Strout or whatever, where like whatever I say, it doesn't actually matter because they're gonna make bank no matter what. Like, and I know that like not that many people are even gonna watch this video, so it doesn't really matter, but I just don't want to be like too mean to a person who obviously like tried to make a book. He just didn't make a book for me, like for the type of reader that I am. So I'm sure plenty of people rated this highly, and if I find a high review, I will try to link it below so that you can experience someone else's perspective and not just mine, because I am not the right reader for this book. So that is all I wanted to say. I'm gonna like switch back to the other clip where I talk about my rankings of the books. And I think I even talked longer this time than the first time, but I wanted it to be more coherent and less of me yelling. I don't like it, and I'm upset that I read it, and I wish, again, that it just made any kind of sense. Like, they should have all died at the end, okay? Fanny should have never left her family, but because of the actions that she took, aka murdering 5 people, she should have been killed at the end. Like, why are we forgiving her? I mean, the first 3, sure, self-defense, but like, what? I feel drained emotionally. If you liked it, please tell me why. It is, okay, I shouldn't say it so condescendingly like that. I'm sure people would like this book because there is a huge plot. It's very involved. It's very fast moving. I literally read the book in 2 days, and it's over 500 pages. Again, I listened to a lot of it, so that worked out. I was able to like drive and listen, and I was able to do a little bit of work while I was listening, but it's just not well written, and the plot isn't good. So like, and I don't like any of the characters, I guess. Yeah. This is the one book that I really needed not to make it through, and it didn't make it through, so I'm pumped. My top 3 did make it through. I guess I am going to talk about, I think I rated them: The Brickmakers, The Art of Losing, Winter and Soap Show, and then Catch the Rabbit, Nervous System. I don't actually know which order I put them in, and then this one I put in last place. I was really invested in the top 2, and I was really opposite of invested in this one, and then the middle 3, I was kind of like, meh, whatever. So anyways, that's what I have to say. I'm so sorry. I really hope the author never sees this video. I'm not even going to put the titles of the books in the description box because I feel very mean. But I can't lie, you know? What am I supposed to do? Oh, and totally kind of unrelated, but like the quality of this book is not very good. Like the binding, And like the glue, like the way that it's done, I don't know if you can tell, but it's just like the quality of the book is not very good either, which is kind of a bummer because that's like something that should be pretty easy to get done, especially because this seems like it's a big publisher. It's Shockin' Books. Actually, never mind. Oh yeah, trademark. It's Random House. So anyways, that's all I have to say. So I'll see you guys later.